Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopichana Vallabha, Jaya Gopichana Vallabha, Jaya Giri Baradhari, Jaya Giri Baradhari, Jaya Gopichana Vallabha, Jaya Giri Baradhari, Jaya Giri Baradhari. Yashodanandana Prajanaranjana, Yashodana Prajanaranjana, Yamunatira Vanachari, Yamunatira Vanachari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jananjana-salakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Caitanya Manobhistam Stapitam yena bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapada Kamalam Sri Guru Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Raghunatha Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijanaha Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute. Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hare Priye. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you again for attending. Hold on to your chadaras now, because we are going to move very swiftly. We're going to go back in time, and it's the 6th of August, 1976. And where are we going to? We are in Paris and New Mayapur, and Harisori Das is telling us about what happened on that day. And we are going to try and extract from the reading how those events apply to our daily lives and what we can learn from that. Right? So listen carefully. Towards the end, I'm going to ask you questions. So today is Ekadasi. I told you before, for the duration of this class, you're going to be fasting. With the GB's decision to take their vans and their not being able to see Prabhupada personally, Hansaduta's men concluded that Prabhupada had been used as a ploy to draw them there in order to prevent them from leaving. Thus, in the middle of the night, they took their vans and left without telling anyone. So we're talking about the devotees, and they had been there with their vans, and that would have been helpful as far as book distribution was concerned, and traveling, transporting the devotees to various Harinam sites. But they were dissatisfied because they thought that they were tricked into coming there, and then the GBC wanted to take their vans. They said, no, it belongs to us now. So we can see even in those times, there was trickery and cheating, and we have to rise above that. When told, Prabhupada sympathized that they would naturally think that they had been tricked. He said it was the GBC's job to see that these things didn't occur. So we have to exercise restraint, and we have to exercise care in the way we talk to devotees, in the way that we handle them, in the way that we interact with them, because they should not get the feeling that we want to take something from them or we want to use them for our benefit. That is not what we want to do. We want to give them something. And what do we want to give them? Krishna consciousness, because we are compassionate and we want to help them to also transcend to the spiritual world at the end of this lifetime in the same way that we want to. Right? So that was as far as the first, that topic, that pastime we can give the heading, deceit. So we should not be deceitful. The second one is restraint, because Prabhupada praised Jayatirtha Prabhu for his restraint in not allowing himself to be drawn into a fight over the whole issue. I suppose he was in charge at that time, and he was very calm, and he worked constructively with the remaining facility and the devotees. Whichever devotees were left, whichever vehicles were left, he worked with them, and he did not complain, he did not make a fuss, and he did not sort of, in colloquial terms, we would say, fight. He was very, very polite about the whole thing. And Prabhupada praised him for that. So now we come to an interesting one, where, let me tell you, on this day, I forgot to tell you that two things are meant to happen on this day. It's the installation of the deities, and there's also going to be initiation. So this is why Prabhupada was there. So, let's read about that. There was kirtan throughout the morning. When we're having a program here also, there's always kirtan. Everything is preceded by kirtan. As the devotees prepared for the installation, Srila Prabhupada was sitting quietly in his room, waiting to be called when he rang the bell and asked, waiting to be called. So Prabhupada was waiting to be called, and he got a bit fed up waiting. So he rang the bell and he asked for Harikesha. When he arrived, Prabhupada told him, "Listen, what is that?" Indicating the kirtana downstairs. So he called him, and when Harikesha came, he said, "Listen. Listen to what? Listen to the kirtan downstairs." He said, "There's something wrong with that." And he said, "Listen carefully. He is adding something before the Hare Krishna mantra." That was what was wrong. He is adding something before the Maha Mantra, and he said, "Go and stop it. Go and stop it and bring him here." That's heavy, right? Go and stop. The kirtan is going on, and all of a sudden, just imagine Veerabhadra is jumping and kirtan is going on, and somebody comes and says, "Hey, stop. Stop it now." That won't be not very this way, right? But this is how serious Prabhupada was. The holy name is complete in itself. It doesn't need any addition to it. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Harikesha wasn't sure exactly what Prabhupada was referring to, but he went straight down, pushed his way through the packed temple room. Prithu Putra Swami was pounding a drum, leading a loud and fervent rendition of the Maha Mantra. A group of sweat-soaked brahmacharis were gathered around him, clashing kartals, stamping their feet, waving their hands, and leaning into an intense exchange of the holy names with the Pitru Putra. So like what you see on Sundays here, there was an ecstatic kirtan going on. First he chanted, and then every time he took the lead, he prefaced the Maha Mantra with the word bhaja, and bhaja means chant. So you and I will not think that is a big deal, because he's simply saying chant. He's asking people to chant after him. But Prabhupada said differently. Rishikesha butted in and brought the singing to an abrupt stop. He informed Prithuputra that Prabhupada wanted to see him. "Stop! Prabhupada wants to see you." Just like that, right? Prithuputra entered Prabhupada's room apprehensively, wondering what was going on. Oh, he wasn't too sure what was going on, right? Because he didn't know that he was doing something wrong by putting that extra word in front of the Maha Mantra. Prabhupada, whose sharp ears had picked up the extra word, demanded to know where he had learned this Bhaja Hare Krishna mantra. He was angry. "There is no bhaja in Hare Krishna. Where did you get that from?" Shaken by Prabhupada's sudden, unexpected reproach, Prithuputra turned red. "I heard it in Vrindavan." So innocently he says, "I heard it in Vrindavan, that's why I'm doing what they do there." Prabhupada's wrath intensified, and his face flushed as he thought of his disciples were once again being polluted by non-ISKCON elements of Vrindavan. He exploded. "Why are you taking this from the nonsense Brajbasis? Who told you this?" Right? So you can see that Prabhupada is quite angry. And even in Kirtan standards by His Holiness J. Advaita Swami, we get the same instruction, that there should be nothing added to the Maha Mantra, just the Maha Mantra by itself. A shocked Prithuputra tried to assure him, "Oh no, not from the Brijbasis. I heard it from the other men." Srila Prabhupada still fumed, but he eased a bit when he understood it had come from an outside source. Still, he strongly warned his disciples, "Never chant this Bhaja Hare Krishna again. Hare Krishna mantra is complete in itself and requires no addition." So all of us lead kirtan at some time or another, so we should remember this. Only the Maha Mantra, we shouldn't add anything. Although you might get enthused or motivated to, and encourage the people to chant, but it must only be the Mahamantra. Prabhupada's, now that episode is finished, we're going to the next event of that day. And an important event was, it happened every day, that Prabhupada had his massage from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. every day. However, at about 11:15 a.m., Bhagavan Tirtha, Jayatirtha and Rishikesha came to ask Prabhupada at what time he wanted to come down for the installation ceremony. So it's about his massage time, and now they come to him and ask him, what time are you going to come down? This should have been arranged. So when we're making arrangements, we have to make sure that we plan properly in consultation with the authorities, of course. But here what they did, they just didn't take into consideration that Prabhupada has to have his massage, and then he will come down and the installation will take place, and then the initiation is going to take place. They thought, they just left it all to Prabhupada. What time are you coming, Prabhupada? Whereas they're supposed to arrange it, right? They had already carried out the preliminaries. Well, that was a good thing. Everything was prepared for both the installation ceremony and the installation of the Sri Krishna Balaram. But they had not fixed a particular time for Srila Prabhupada's attendance. And what's the most important part of the event? Prabhupada must come down, he give his talk, and he must perform the Abhishek. And they had forgotten to slot that in. But Prabhupada merely wanted them to tell him when he was required. Just tell me, when must I come down? That's all he wanted to know. Bhagavan and Jayatirtha said, it was hard for them to give an exact time. It's hard for us to tell you what time, Prabhupada, because we don't want to inconvenience you. It's your massage time now. So they looked at Harikesha Maharaj for a decision. So they're looking at the next person now, Harikesha. You the servant, what do you think? Harikesha, to my surprise, said he could also not make this sort of decision because he was only the secretary and didn't deal with Prabhupada's massages. So they passing the blame one to the other. You tell, like that. Right? He concluded, therefore, that it was actually my responsibility, since I was Prabhupada's servant. So they now put it on, Harisori Prabhu, you tell, because you are the servant. But right? Unexpectedly put on the spot. So he was unexpectedly put on the spot as well. I protested that no one had told me what the schedule was, so how could I say? I'm not sure what's going to happen, how the events are planned. How can I say? So we take from that when we're organizing something, we must be careful to plan every detail so that there is no confusion. Right? Everything will flow smoothly. So when events take place here, it's very well organized. I noticed that everything happens in accordance with the plan and there's no confusion. So what was Srila Prabhupada's reaction to this? By now Srila Prabhupada was becoming increasingly exasperated. He was getting a bit fed up. As he sat behind his desk listening to us pass the buck, the one saying, you tell. Not me, I don't know. You know, you tell. Having heard enough, he angrily chastised us for our inability to make a simple decision for such an important event. So an important event, and they were just flopping around, not taking a firm decision. He told Bhagavan to prepare his immediate participation downstairs. Okay, go downstairs, prepare for me to come down immediately. And he ordered the Prabhu, give me my massage right away. I barely had time to spread the oil over his body. Within 15 minutes it was finished. Normally it takes how long? We said 11:30 to 1 for the massage. Yeah, but now it was finished in 15 minutes. In the next 10, he was bathed, dressed, and on his way downstairs. So he had to take up the responsibility, and he said, right, give me a massage, and I'm going down. Within 25 minutes, he was down. The wood-paneled temple room overflowed with devotees. Flowers, greenery, festoons were everywhere. A green velvet canopy hung over the heads of the beautiful 4-foot deities standing on the elevated platform in front of the deity room. Black marble Krishna posed with his left hand on his hip, while white marble Balaram, standing a few inches taller, stood to his side, left hand raised to rest on Krishna's right shoulder. That's a description of the deities that are going to be installed. So Prabhupada is down, and after about 15 minutes, and because it was now nearly 1:30 p.m., Bhagavan Prabhu suggested that the installation, that instead of waiting for the deities to be dressed, which could take some time, Srila Prabhupada could do the initiations instead. So there again there was a change of plan. Okay, it's taking too long to dress the deities. Let's have the initiation instead. So that is an indication of poor planning. So, followed by the devotees, Prabhupada went to the grass field next to the chateau opposite his sitting room window. A sacrificial pit had been set up beneath the spreading arms of a large oak tree. Wreathed with brilliant marigolds, Prabhupada sat on his high-backed palanquin, which now substituted as an asana. Its brilliant red satin cloth forming a canopy over his head to ward off the sun. The 40 or 50 initiates sat in 2 lines in front of him, ladies to one side of the yajna arena, men on the other, and the rest of the devotees stood behind him. The scene was full of natural opulence, with the trees and grassy pastures perfectly setting off the fruits, flowers, and peacock feather decorations. So you've witnessed when initiation takes place here, and you see how nicely the temple room is decorated, and the Havan Kund is there in the center with the fruits all around, and the flowers, and the bananas, and all of that. So this happened then as well, and that is a description of it. And who was giving instructions? Guru Gauranga Prabhu, an American, made announcements and gave instructions in 5 languages as devotees came forward to receive their beads and their spiritual names. That done, the devotees then carried Prabhupada back to the chateau on his palanquin, dancing and chanting all around as he sat serenely, cane in hand. It was too late to have darshan of Sri Krishna Balaram, so he returned to his room for lunch. Right, so 2 things happened now. First of all, it was the Kirtan story, and then now there was a little bit of confusion there. There was a little bit of poor planning because they were supposed to have the installation, and then they had to wait and do the initiation first, and then came back to the initiation. So all these are lessons for us in the planning of our events. So when Prabhupada went back to his room, right, there's another important thing that happens here. The last topic which I have headed, misrepresentation. Although he was due to depart in mid-afternoon, Prabhupada decided to answer a long letter from Sumati Murarji. She had sent a long letter. What was in that letter? Who was this Sumati Murarji? She was the owner of the Scandia shipping and patron of Srila Prabhupada's first voyage to the West. Remember when Prabhupada first came to the West, he had to beg Sumati Murarji for a passage in that ship in that cargo ship. She said, "You're too old, I can't give you this." But then eventually she conceded. It was this person, and she had written to Prabhupada in the form of a complaint. She expressed considerable dissatisfaction with a recently published article in the Back to Godhead, volume 10.8, which summarized a lecture Srila Prabhupada gave about the qualifications of a guru. What was the complaint about? Prabhupada had given a summary about the qualifications of a guru, and let's see why was she offended by this. In it, he referred to the exchange where Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu criticized Sri Vallabha Acharya for claiming that a commentary he had written on Srimad Bhagavatam was actually better than that of the ancient commentator Srila Sridhar Swami. So what was the complaint? It's a bit difficult to understand if you just read like that. So it was about this. There's the qualifications of the guru. And what did Prabhupada say? Prabhupada was referring to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he was talking about where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had criticized this Acharya named Vallabha Acharya. And what did he criticize him about? He had claimed that my commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam was better than that of the ancient commentator. Now, the ancient is significant there because this commentator made this commentary long before Vallabha Acharya had arrived on the scene. So, this is the controversy. Now she said, why you said that, the argument was, if they were talking face to face, why are you criticizing Vallabha Acharya? This is my guru. We are following that line. So, since Sumati Murarji is a devotee in the Vallabha Acharya Sampradaya, she expressed shock and pain to read the article. She felt Srila Prabhupada's comments were provocative and highly objectionable. I had a firm belief in your mission for spreading the message of Sri Krishna all over the world. I'll read that again. She says, I had a firm belief in your mission of spreading the message of Sri Krishna all over the world. But reading the above extract of your lecture, I was very much disappointed, since therein you attempted to portray an incorrect image of Sri Vallabha Acharya based on hearsays. Every Acharya is great in his own way, and no Acharya is greater than another. Each had come to this world to perform one's duties, and every Acharya has done so in the best possible way. So, what is Prabhupada's response? Concerned that Sumati Murarji not carry any misunderstanding of his statements, Srila Prabhupada sent her a lengthy reply. Now remember, they came back to the residence, and he's going to leave later, but he's thought it important enough to reply to her complaint before leaving. He began by saying that he was sorry to hear that she was agitated by the BGG article. He explained that his editors did not know the principle of Satyam Bruyat Priyam Bharat, that in the material world only palatable truths should be spoken and unpalatable truths should be carefully avoided. So we can learn something from that as well. All of us are involved in preaching at some time or another, and we encounter people from different backgrounds, so we should be careful that we do not cause any confusion or any offense against them, because they have their belief and they have their understanding, and they may not exactly understand what we're trying to say, but we should not push, overly push our philosophy when they are not ready. In time they will understand. So let's read again what he says, that in the material world, only palatable truths should be spoken, and unpalatable truths should be carefully avoided. So we have to be circumspect. Only say those things which will not be offensive. Later on, the other truths can be spoken when the recipient is more qualified. Nevertheless, he confirmed the fact that the incident as related in Caitanya he confirmed that the fact of the incident as related in Caitanya Charitamrita. He explained that just as she was irritated by criticism of Vallabha Acharya, now listen to this, she was irritated, right? That's why she complained. So Prabhupada is replying, just as you are irritated by this, right? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also agitated by Vallabha Acharya's criticism of Sri Dhar Swami, who was accepted as the original commentator of the Srimad Bhagavatam long before Lord Chaitanya's day. So the understanding is quite simple, that the commentary of Sridhara Swami had been written long before the appearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Vallabha Acharya was a recent commentator. So to criticize the ancient commentary was not something that was palatable. Perhaps you know that there is an edition of the Srimad Bhagavatam by Krishna Sankar Sastri Abhinava Sukha Vedanta Acharya Sajitya Tirtha Sri Bhagavata Sudha Nidhi from Ahmedabad. So look at all those titles. Right? It's trying to give accolades to this particular person. In his book, he has given almost all the important commentaries on the Bhagavatam as follows. And so Prabhupada is explaining very nicely. He says, this person with all these titles behind his name, right? The Krishna, Sankar, Shastri, Abhina, Sukha, all of those things are read. In his commentaries, all the important commentaries of the Bhagavatam are as follows. 1. Sridhar Swami. 2. Sri Vamsi Dhara. 3. Ganga Sadhya, and it goes on to about 10 of them. Ending with number 10, Sri Bhagavat Prasada Acharya, etc. Among all commentaries, Sridhar Swami is given first position. This parampara had existed for a very long time. So we can see how careful and how subtle Prabhupada is. He's not kind of arguing, or he's not saying, I'm the Acharya and you listen to what I'm saying. You do what I'm saying. He's explaining very nicely. He says, look, in this book, there are so many of them listed. And the number one name is Sridhar Swami. So what does that mean? It means that he's an authority, and an authority that overrides Vallabha Acharya, because his commentary is placed first. In my commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, Prabhupada is speaking now, I have refuted the explanations of, this is Vallabha Acharya. In my commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, he said, I have refuted the explanations of Sridhar Swami. I cannot accept his explanations. Moreover, verse 114 states, whatever Sridhar Swami reads, he explains according to the circumstances. Therefore, he is inconsistent with his explanations and cannot be accepted as an authority. So that is her argument, and Prabhupada is giving his side of the story. Let's see what is it all about now. Vallabha Bhatta's declaration certainly agitated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Consequently, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu remarked sarcastically that he considered that anyone who did not accept the Swami or Sridhar Swami as an authority was a prostitute. Prabhu hasi kahe, but he smiled and said this jokingly because they were friends. So that is what Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, right? Although this point is very controversial, it is not based on hearsay. Is it almost time to break fast? It's got 15 minutes more. Vallabha Bhatta's declaration certainly agitated Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right, we read that. Although this point is controversial, it is based on hearsay, as you have stated. But it is authoritatively documented in the Caitanya Charitamrita. So he's responding to the point about hearsay. Although this point is very controversial, it is not based on hearsay. Because she says that his article is based on hearsay. So he's proving why it's not based on hearsay, as you have stated. But it is not based on hearsay, as you have stated, but it is authoritatively documented by the Sri Chaitanya, by the Caitanya Charitamrita, as you have written in a friendly spirit. I do not wish to discuss this point further. If you will kindly take a little trouble to read this chapter, Lord Caitanya meets Vallabha Bhatta, you will understand the whole situation. Actually, Vallabha Bhatta should have not criticized Sridhar Swami, because even now, Sridhar Swami is very respected. Even authorities like Sri Jiva Goswami and Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur mention in their commentaries Swami Karanath, as you have learned, is it from the lotus feet of Sridhar Swami. So when Vallabha Bhatta criticized Sridhar Swami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu criticized Vallabha Bhatta strongly. This is a fact. But this does not mean that Vallabha Bhatta and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were inimical. Vallabha Bhatta honored Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a superior. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would chastise Vallabha Bhatta, and sometimes he would favor him, because this was their relationship. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would never refuse the occasional invitations of Vallabha Bhatta. So Prabhupada is explaining that as much as you may be offended by what I am saying about Vallabha Acharya, they were actually friends. At that time, they interacted with each other, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would actually accept invitations given by Vallabha Bhatta. So, getting offended seems to be like having no base, because they are friends, but I'm getting angry with you, but there's nothing going on between them. So what's the point? Everything will become clear if you kindly read this chapter with attention. For example, then he gives an example. We see that the two lawyers in the courtroom may fight vigorously about a law point. But upon returning to the law library, they talk and embrace as friends. So when it comes to an issue, they may differ on the interpretation of a particular issue, like the two lawyers, they're presenting the pros and cons of the case, and they do so in a way that appears to us that they are fighting each other. You know, when we go to court and I have my lawyer, you have your lawyer, and then we think it's going to be a big fight. But in actuality, the lawyers are friends. And when they get back to the library, as Prabhupada says, they can't be enemies, because that is their work. How can they be enemies in the workplace like that? So Prabhupada very nicely responded in that way. And the lesson we learn from that is that we should always be circumspect. Don't just jump to conclusions. Try and read between the lines. Try and understand more. Inquire before we get to jump to any conclusion and make statements that can be derogatory. I hope you understand the whole situation. If you still have any doubts, I shall be glad to hear from you and try to satisfy you to the best of my ability. I am presently not in very good health. Nevertheless, I hope this meets you well. Prabhupada was not happy that the editors of the BTG had printed a controversial topic and said they should be more careful. He said they should be more discreet in what they publish and not disturb people who are friends of ISKCON. He explained that many of our life members in Bombay are followers of the Vallabha Acharya. So that's what happened on the highlight of the events of the 6th of August 1976 in Paris and New Mayapur. So what was the first thing that we learnt or read about? It was about the vans. About the vans, right? They took the GBC wanted to take over the vans. You all come with your vans, come meet Prabhupada, and then when they came, they said, okay, we're going to take over these vans now. You know, it's going to belong to us. And then they said, no, it's our vans. We're not going to do this. We're going. And in the night, they left without telling anybody. So deceit doesn't work. Number two, that one, but a little before that, Prabhupada praises, yes, you're right, he praises Jayatirtha Prabhu for the way in which he handled the situation. He did not become agitated, he did not become like, how we say, fight. He was not drawn into a fight over the whole issue. So that's what we have to do as well. When we have some kind of differences of opinion, do not be drawn into a fight. Try to make the best, how they say, make the best of a bad bargain. I suppose that saying will apply here as well. Then, very important one. What's the next one we discussed? Has to do with Kirtan, yes. Yeah, Kirtan standards. We should not add anything to the Maha Mantra. Prabhupada very emphatically said that the Maha Mantra is complete on its own. It does not need anything to be added to it, or you do not have to take away anything from it. So he chastised, what did he say again? This Bhaja Hare Krishna mantra, he was angry. There is no bhaja in Hare Krishna. Where did you get this from? So I wonder why Prabhupada was in that mood. Can we understand why he says that the Maha Mantra is complete on its own? The Maha Mantra is the names of the Lord, isn't it? So we can't change the names of the Lord. You know, as friends, maybe I'll say, instead of saying Veera, Bhadra, Prabhu, I'll say Veera, right? But that's not who he is. If I want to show respect because he's a great personality, a great Caitanya, then we must say his name fully, not like a shortcut. So now we're talking about the Lord. And the Maha Mantra is about the Lord. And we're saying, okay, Bhaja. Prabhupada didn't like that. And what about organization? We have to be very careful about the arrangements that we make. And why was Prabhupada exasperated? Because they didn't schedule it properly, and they all say, okay, you tell what time, you tell what time, you tell what time. They're not saying definitely, okay, you should know better, you take the decision. They didn't want to take the decision on their own. So we have to be decisive. We should take some responsibility, consult with the others, and come to a conclusion. But don't leave it in abeyance. Okay, he'll do it, or she'll do it. But then it becomes like confusing. And Prabhupada was exasperated by that because he had to have his massage and they didn't schedule that. And then he had to take the reins in his own hands, right? And then he said, okay, massage now and get ready downstairs. I'm coming now. So in a short time he went. But they hadn't arranged that. So we have to be decisive. And then, of course, the last one is about misrepresentation. We should be, everything is very, very clear in the books that we have. We've got the Srimad Bhagavatam, we've got the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, we've got so many small books explaining those books. So before we become agitated, before we become annoyed and voice an opinion that can be, how should I say, the opinion can be insulting in a way, then we have to be careful about what we say. Always think about the outcome. In spiritual life, it's like that. When you think about, we recently people were celebrating or they were observing Pitar Pak, and we wonder. Well, the question can be asked, why we're thinking of the ancestors? Why during this time? So, we can understand that, we are making those kind of sacrifices every day. Every day we're making offerings to the Lord. And in that sense, we are actually preparing ourselves for the ultimate goal. Because we are seeing far beyond temporary goals, right? What happens when we make an offering? It is written in Bhagavad Gita that 3 generations, when we are nice, spiritual, when we are following nicely, when we are determined, then 3 generations back, 3 generations forward, I'm not sure about the number, whether it's 3, 7 or 21, but something like that, get the benefit of our piety. So why not? Not only are we enhancing our own futures, in the sense that we will not come back to this material plane where there is suffering, right? We don't want to suffer. We've already understood. We've heard mostly devotees. Yes, I'm not going to explain that what suffering means, old age, disease, and death, right? So we want to avoid that, and we don't want to come back. So we have that goal in mind. In the same way, we are performing our duties in almost in as near perfect way as possible, simply for that purpose, that we all want to transcend and we want to go to the spiritual world where there's eternal joy and bliss. So any comments, any questions? Ravindra, you have a question? Any comment, Prabhu? Say something, Prabhu. Add a little bit. Well, this was just, we traveled to that place, and it was a day in the life of Srila Prabhupada. And it is very important. Like, when we read Srimad Bhagavatam, we can learn so much. When we read Bhagavad Gita, we learn about how we're supposed to use this very rare and important human form, because it's the only form through which we can transcend to the spiritual world. So in the same way, we take lessons from Srila Prabhupada's encounters while he was here in different countries, and we learn so much from that. And as we said, today's lesson was, first of all, the Kirtan standard. Secondly, do not be critical without investigation. You must be very, very careful before we make any comment or pass any judgment. Otherwise, we can be offensive. Thank you very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the fast ends now, right on time. Hare Krishna.